Hello, this is Gwen. Today is December the 8th, 2018. It is Saturday at about 7:24 p.m. I'm going to do a video called Oxygen and We Have a Problem. It's a bigger issue than H2 is a bigger issue for H2O. What I was doing was trying to figure out what would actually happen should oxygen actually leave our planet. As you know, that because the oceans are dying because of radiation being disposed of in our water, it is killing the sea and the algae, the seaweed and the algae and the other oceanic plants that supply about a third of our oxygen on the planet. I think it's about a third or two-thirds or three-fifths. I've seen different figures, but it supplies the majority of the air, I mean the oxygen that we breathe on the planet. And so I was wondering what would happen. Will it be a vacuum? Because I didn't think it'd be a vacuum. I always thought that there would be some kind of atmospheric vapor, but it wouldn't have oxygen in it. So we'll be breathing things like carbon dioxide and monoxide and other forms of pollution, but we won't get the nourishing oxygen. That's what I figured would be happening. So um, I was hoping we could replace the oxygen with other plants to supplement what would happen if the ocean plants go away. But in doing this and researching this and looking, trying to figure out what happened and what options, I found a bigger problem than just oxygen leaving. And that's what this video is about. So walk with me on this because I'm not going to reveal the bigger problem till toward the end. But I'm just going to show my steps to get there. When I show my little Google search pages, I just want you to see how I found the information to A, help you if you don't already know how to do it yourself, look up stuff. And B, just to show you where I got my information from. I know that everything on the internet is not true, but you have to discern it for yourself. Most of the stuff that I look up, I've already got an answer for and already remember it from science class, but I want to research and look at it again to see. So I already knew that air was, for example, right here where I'm talking about what is in air. I already knew that it was a various form of vapors, with oxygen being one of the components. But I wanted to make sure that, excuse me, any updated information, would either A, verify it or update it or disprove it or whatever. But I wanted to see it myself. That's how it work. I want to see stuff myself and I want to see it in real time. Even if I already have a good idea of what the answer is or know that, even if I do know the answer, I want to make sure. I just want my receipt in front of me. Just want to see the proof, want to see my site. And so I like Google search because whatever the question is, they're going to pop up with an answer most times. And so I like that. And I like to use them because you can use other ones and for other stuff I will probably start using. But right now Google search is fine. I trust a lot of their stuff that's on the Google site. And like I said, I already know some of the stuff, but I want to verify and follow up. So we have a bigger issue for H2O, oxygen and air, and I'm going to talk about them not being the same, and air's components may vary, and oxygen is a chemical that offers nourishment for our bodies. Those are just some of the basics. Now, let's talk about what's in air. And this is a Google link. It shouldn't take too long to do this either because I only got a few things to talk about. Well, we already knew that air had a whole bunch of other stuff in it because air is just the word used to talk about the vapor that's sitting on the planet. Because air's got water, it's got various chemicals, and it's got oxygen. A percent of air is in oxygen. I mean, yeah, it's got oxygen in it. And this breakdown right here tells you what's in air right now. And at various places, depending on where you are, it's going to have a variation of these components. Okay? Oxygen is 21% air. When you hyperventilate, sometimes you get too much oxygen and it makes you sick. So you have to rebreathe your carbon dioxide in the paper bag to balance out your levels because you apparently hyperventilate or something. But depending on what's going on, when you get too much air, it makes you sick. I mean, it gets too much oxygen, it'll make you sick. But if three-fifths of our oxygen is gone, then that's only going to leave one-fifth left to go around the whole planet. That's going to affect what's going to go on in the planet and who lives. I even theorize that just like water having to be bought when it used to be free, you could go anywhere and just drink some water, but now you got to drink special water because it's so polluted. I even theorize that they're trying to make a short supply of oxygen so that they can create a market so that you have to buy air too. But I could be wrong, but I don't put it past them. I even think that there is a evilness component in it when we talk about nuclear power plants because I think that the nuclear power plants aren't really there for power, making electricity. Is really there to create the nuclear waste. That's you ought to just call them nuclear waste factories because that's what they're designed for, is to create that nuclear waste so that they can use it to destroy things that make the planet healthy. So it's really a nuclear waste factory with energy being a byproduct. Because there's nothing about a nuclear power plant that's beneficial. It's more expensive, trouble to maintain, and the energy produced by it is not, it's not better than regular old coal or other fuels. I'd rather have smoke that dissipates eventually than nuclear waste that's thousands and thousands of years. That's not logical to have something that's going to last thousands and thousands of years being a contaminant versus smoke which goes away eventually. It does come down eventually. It's not thousands and thousands of years. But that's not the goal for a nuclear waste factory. The nuclear waste factory is to create nuclear waste, and then they need to dress it up and they call it a power plant. But actually, it's a nuclear waste factory. That's my thoughts. Anyway, I believe that, oh, let me go back over that a little bit. I believe that something evil has gotten into people and they are trying to destroy the planet as a goal. If they can get rich and have fun as a in the meantime, that's all the better. But I think people who are doing that have got special places in hell, and I think that they will probably have fun in hell because they did so much damage. I think hell has bonuses and employee awards for the amount of degradation they do on the planet. There are people who, that's why I believe that they don't really fear hell because their goal is to be a devil. That is the people who are doing things to destroy the planet and making money off of it. Okay? There are people who do that, and they still are. I don't like that. I think that's evil. When you're doing things to destroy the planet and profiting from it and insist on doing it, then there's an evilness component to that in my mind. Now, this is a breakdown of air that we breathe. Depending on what kind of pollution and where you are in the world or the country, that those ingredients are going to vary. For example, if you're living someplace high off the ground, then you're going to have a smaller component of oxygen in that formula. But if oxygen is gone, then other things will be taking up the air, but you won't have that nourishment that air would have gave. But there won't be a vacuum because I think our gravity keeps these components down. but I doubt if it'll be a vacuum good, but it will be some kind of vapor that we'll be able to inhale, but it won't nourish the body. It'll probably poison and pollute the body. But anyway, this is my Google search for that. It's got a lot of stuff here that's good information. Like I looked at these, but they both mostly saying the same things. And it talks about what gases are in the air and all of that. If you want to further research, but I feel like it's common sense just to know that we breathe air. We need oxygen to breathe, and it's in our air. If you want to further insert research, please feel free to look up why you need air and stuff like that. So that was my Google search for what's in air. And I showed the components in it, and I talked about how they vary depending on where you live and what's in there. If you live in an area that's super polluted, then your components are going to be different than somebody who doesn't live anywhere near pollution. Okay? So they say that China has smoke and vapor and polluted air right over their city, much like old Los Angeles used to be before they started getting their pollution under control. That's all that is. China going into a new industrial age, and they're making the same mistakes that Americans made before we had laws and unions and things. America was just like China. We like to turn our nose up at developing countries, but we were just like them and worse. You should read the histories of the 1920s and 30s. We did all kind of things to people, and so there's some things they do worse, but we can't talk. Not yet. Not now. No. We did a lot of bad stuff. Okay. I do have a little thing there that talks about why we need oxygen, and I'm gonna go to that page. And this is just a little brief rundown of why we breathe oxygen because we need it to burn fuel in our body. That's why we need to breathe our oxygen. It's just pumps into our body so that we can burn our fuel, helps our blood. Uh, Artery blood is a bright red, and the vein blood is a dirty blood that's going back to be purified again through your heart and lungs. And so we do. That's why we need oxygen. If you want to do further research on that, feel free. I like for people to do their research on things because it makes their lesson stick better. When your own hands click the mouse or when your own hands write it, you learn it better and it stays with you longer than it had if somebody had just handed it to you on a page. So that's all that is, just a page talking about how oxygen works in the body. But that's really stuff that we already learned in science class. Now, what I'm going to talk about is bigger problem, part one and two. Part one is where I give you some background. Like I said, I was looking online to figure out what would happen if oxygen was actually gone because I was wondering if it would create a vacuum. Just thinking, just wondering, or would it do like I'm thinking it'll do, which is just reconfigure the air percentage of oxygen, which will then be having a higher percentage of everything else. And it looks like that's what happened up to a point. But the bigger problem, the bigger problem is the formula hydrogen, hydrogen, oxygen equals H2O. That's water. And when I saw this, it threw me for a loop because that's a big, big, big problem. Basically, we not only lose oxygen, we lose water. And here's what I found. Eh, H2O is hydrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, and oxygen is what bounds that those two hydrogen molecules that equal water. What I found was that there's a lot of research already on the topic. but nobody's saying nothing. So first thing I did was, well, actually I had found that sentence talking about it, and then I thought I'd research further for this video to talk about what's in hydrogen. And there are two pages here that matter to me. Okay. And this first part, oh, excuse me. Now, ooh, I'm drinking soda pop, and I shouldn't drink soda pop because I burp. Sorry. But I feel I like it when I burp. It tickles me. Okay, hydrogen. And I looked at the definition of hydrogen as a non-metallic element, one of the lightest of the elements, normally colorless, highly flammable, diatomic gas, and it's used in synthesis. And it's on the chemical elements table. And the second part down here, it talks about how hydrogen goes around a um, what is it? Lightest chemical element. What stuck me was the word lightest. So what it did was confirm for me was what I was already seeing when I saw this part that freaked me out that I haven't got to yet. But I'm gonna tell you in a minute. I saw a part that freaked me out, so I did further research. I already knew I was gonna want to talk to you, but I did some little background to make sure that I had it straight in my head, and I do, and it's still flipping me out. But hydrogen normally consists of a single electron in orbit around a nucleus, da 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 da, and it's usually found as a gas, although people use it as fuels. But hydrogen is a vapor, a gas. Okay, y'all with me? Okay, with hydrogen being flammable as that first part and a gas, the bigger problem: what happens when oxygen is gone? Basically, so will the water be. Yes. Without that oxygen molecule binding those two hydrogen molecules, it stops being H2O because now the O is gone. Okay? The O is no longer there, so the hydrogen has nothing to bound it to keep it on the ocean or in the water. It hasn't got anything to bound the two hydrogen elements anymore because it's no longer the O component because it's hydrogen, hydrogen, oxygen. But hydrogen, hydrogen evaporates. That's the bigger problem. Okay? Whew. I didn't think of that before. Okay. So without oxygen, we already know we're going to die. But we also not going to have water. And what they have is a lot of websites and things like websites and articles that talk about what happens if all the oxygen left for 5 seconds. And it talks about how the machinery would break down, all the things that's a combustion engine will stop working because it won't have sparks. They were talking about 5 seconds, but if oxygen is gone, it's going to be longer than 5 seconds. So basically, all machinery stops working because it doesn't have the spark component, the things that burn fuel, the things that burn. Your car won't work because you won't have a combustion because it won't have anything to combust with. All fire goes. Everything that makes fire goes away. Everything that runs on fire goes away. And so regular power plants won't work because they operate by combustion. Trains, planes, all of that goes away. So basically, you'll be moving back to a pre, industrial, 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 Okay? It'll be pre-industrial, and it'll probably be a wasteland. So we got a bigger problem, and I didn't think about all those other factors. I didn't think about water being gone too. I was counting on water still being there so that you can do something with the dirt to make plants grow. But if water has evaporated, then we in trouble because we knew oxygen was a problem, but plants can't grow without water. So it's a be a cycle that would lead to dystopia. So basically, we can't. In my mind, we can't wait for all hell to break loose because once it's break loose, it's will really actually probably be too late. Okay, so that's um, basically the whole scenario. What would happen if oxygen is gone? Water will be gone too. Look at some of these. What would happen if the oxygen were to disappear for 5 seconds scenarios that you have on these various pages? Because a lot of people already know about this, but you're not seeing it on the news. You're not seeing it in nothing. This is where you see that at, and they're hypothesizing and speculating, but you don't have to if you think about what hydrogen does and what oxygen does. You don't have to even buy into all of that stuff. All you got to do is look at that. My brain, when I thought about hydrogen and oxygen, my brain took off like a freight train, fast forwarding to the problem. And yeah, we got a problem. Okay, that's basically all I had to say. Well, let me look at this one. I got curious. Get a new window. Oops, I didn't know that was a YouTube thing. Okay, let me come out of that because, well, anyway, you see this video, and that's an ad, so I'm gonna leave that alone. Hmm. But it's already common knowledge, except they're not telling regular folks. Good luck. And that's all I got to say. Thank you for listening to me. And I'm going to press it on stop after I put it back on this page. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to say that the sentence, Earth is a balanced ecosystem and we keep tampering with it. We never needed to do all this stuff that we're doing. Not at all. Earth would have supported us had we not messed up. Had we not messed up, our Earth would be fine. So the best I can say to save ourselves is to go roll back some of the stupid stuff we're already doing. I already know not to do nuclear power plants anymore or some of the other things that are with the environment. That's why I'm thinking that this industrial revolution was really a covert ops from hell. Okay. Thank y'all. And thank you for listening to me. Bye bye.